perspective presented by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, following our few principles of humanism.
We're committed to the use of science and reason for understanding the universe and for solving human problems. We're skeptical of untested claims of knowledge, but we're open to new ideas.
We are concerned with securing justice and fairness in society and in ending intolerance and discrimination. We are committed to the total separation of religion and government.
We affirm humanism as a realistic alternative to the theologies of despair and the ideologies of violence. We reject the concept of an afterlife and believe in living a full and rewarding life here and now.
We value and respect each individual's right to judge and lead their lives according to their own position, as long as it's respectful of other people, living in a free society.
We hope you enjoy today's program and others in the weeks to follow. Hello, folks. I'm Harry Greenberger, and I welcome you again to our program. We are, as you've heard, sponsored by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association. For some of you who may not know, our shows can be seen in multiple ways. In addition to the Cox Cable Sunday airing, it can be seen on YouTube, Vimeo, and on our NOSHA website, which is nosha.org. When you go to those any of those sites, you have a menu, and you can pick whatever past show you'd like to watch. Let me just say that I only recently was looking at some of the past shows, and my guest today, who is Cari Roy, was my guest a couple of years back, and according to the records there on YouTube, your show had over 700 visitors. That's a large number. Some shows don't get that. So apparently whatever it was we talked about, people found interesting, and we're going to talk about it again today.
Yay.
But let me tell the folks something about who Cari Roy is. She attended and graduated Temple University with concentrations in philosophy, psychology, and Eastern religion, especially Buddhism. Over the past 30 years, she doesn't look that old, but
Thank you.
Cari has appeared on Fox, The Today Show, A&E, Discovery, and the Travel Channel. She has been quoted in books and in some of the world's most prestigious print publications. Quoting Cari Roy, she says, "The only crystal ball I own is for decoration purposes. Her approach to her profession is more intuitive than traditional." So that tells you something about who Cari Roy is. And then I would like just to ask Cari, what may be new since the last time we sat here and talked?
Well, for me, I've had a couple of big honors. I was named the #1 psychic to see in New Orleans by travelchannel.com, and I was recommended as the best psychic to see by bbcamerica.com. So that's pretty awesome. So,
BBC?
BBC.
How did they even know about you?
They found me on the internet, as many people do these days.
I see. I thought maybe you sent them a
I
message.
telepathically sent them. Actually, so the timing of it was very interesting. I received a notification that they had included me in a story on the website, and it was just came to me on the anniversary of my late mother's birthday. So I felt like it was a sign from above.
I see. So things are going well.
They are. They
Well, what
really
else
are.
has happened in the interim time?
I attended a wonderful conference in the University of Arizona at Tucson towards the science of consciousness, which is a wonderful conference. It's academic. Deepak Chopra and I were the fluffiest people that attended the event. He far less fluffy than me, considering we were really, he's a doctor, but we were with scientists primarily in a week-long conference that had to do with different states of consciousness and different viewpoints of where consciousness resides, and is it in the mind? Are we receivers? Are we senders? Are we?
And presumably, our consciousness is what separates us from some of the animals lower on the evolutionary scale.
I'm not so sure I believe that, but that is, and they're working on that. They're
That's
doing
the
a lot of work on that. It is the
general.
It is the general. But I think that is hubris for us to really think that we are the only ones that have that consciousness. I think there are different forms of consciousness, but I think that animals and other things also maintain consciousness.
I see, but you're still talking about what exists in our present world. You're not talking about going beyond that at this. I mean, as I understand it, there may be different universes. We may be living in different universes, but we're not reaching out that far yet.
Not
Is that
yet,
right?
Not yet, not yet. But there's interesting, I read something the other day that they are doing some studies because they think that there's an alternate universe bumping up against our universe. So we may be closer than we think.
Generally, if I watch like on TV or in my own organization, we sometimes have speakers who talk about things like multiple universes and other things in astrophysics.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Well, there are many more things that are dreamt up in our philosophy. Horatio is basically. Let me try to say that. Yeah, more things dreamt up than in our philosophy.
All right.
Horatio,
now let's talk a little bit about what you do.
Yes.
You already said you don't use a crystal ball.
No, I do not.
You don't rely on tarot cards.
No, I do not.
But your involvement, as I understand it, has to do with telepathy and clairvoyance. Am I right?
Yes.
Now tell me what each of those things are comprised of.
Okay. I consider myself a psychic and a medium. When I first started out, people were trying to tell me that I should use the term intuitive or something like that, and I come from a family where this was pretty much accepted stuff, and my mom used the term psychic, so psychic was good enough for me. But what I do is I use a different sense that I have, perhaps than others do, to be able to look into the future and tell what's coming, see opportunities. I use, again, this other sense, this sixth sense, this different sense, to connect with people who have departed. Now, I never say that I could be connecting with the essence of that rather than it being somebody who is, standing in one dimension right next to our dimension. So I'm a little open in how it is that I say that I get that information because I don't really know.
All right, but your premise is that when a human dies, something lives on.
Something lives on. I believe
see.
that. I believe that.
All right.
Now, it may also be that there is a lot of debate now. There's been a lot of debate for a long time, especially in theoretical physics, that whether time actually exists or it's just a filing system that we use here to have this particular experience. If that's the case, then the whole, past may not exist, and I may actually be tapping into that energy of that essence, that consciousness.
Yeah.
I may just be tapping into that because time does not exist in the same way for me.
When you say you're tapping into something, what is that experience like?
It is, I liken it to remembering a book that I've read. that I've put away years ago, and I pick it back up, but I turn the page and I go, oh yeah, I remember this. When I'm concentrating. I just hold people's hands if they're actually physically present. I don't know what that does, to be honest with you. I just feel that works for me. Rather than looking at tarot cards or crystal ball or palms, I don't read someone's hands. I just hold that. I think what that does is both of us concentrate. It makes us both really kind of focus on each other, the person being read and me. And it enables me to start gathering information. Another way that I describe it is as if I jumped into a pool and I'm swimming to the bottom and there's a coin there. And as I get closer and closer, I see more detail on that coin. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of diving into a different, state of consciousness. And as I'm going into that different state of consciousness, I will get details about somebody's life, the people that are in it. What are the big pertinent issues happening to them right now?
And this comes to you as
an idea,
not as a you don't. Do you see something visually?
I do see it visually, but I don't see it externally visually. It's not like looking at a television externally.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes I do get actual glimpses, but I'm using terms like I see, I hear, I know, because I'm not actually really sure how to describe that, because it is something that most of us don't use. Again, I'm always trying to figure out what it is that is different with me.
All right. Well, you come from a family of psychics.
Yes. My mother was a psychic, yes.
And you are a professional psychic.
Yes, I am.
And so people make an appointment and come to see you.
Mm-hmm.
What is it they're looking for?
Two things. It's usually a psychic reading or a medium reading, and they're two different types of readings.
Oh, explain that.
A psychic reading is really, people want to know about what's going on in their world, what's going on in their life. I like to know, people don't necessarily like surprises or change. So they will come to somebody like me because they have something going on that is causing them to be off balance, whether it's, I call it the big five: finance, romance, career, health, family. These are the things that we are more interested in as human beings. All of us want to know about that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so they're coming to me because they have something going on in one of those areas that's causing them concern. And that I use psychic abilities to connect with the future, with other areas, with other people that I don't have prior knowledge about, to kind of connect information for them that they can use to make their life better, to feel better.
So when someone comes to you as a client,
yes,
are they explicit about what they're there to find out, or
not necessarily?
They just lay themselves open to your reading?
It will depend on the individual. Some people come in and they're like, I want to know this, and this. We have this amount of time and this is what I want to know. And other people will just come in and say, I'm open, I'm here for you to tell me. In either case, I do the majority of the talking. One of the things that I say separates me from a therapist is that people go to a therapist and they do all the talking.
Exactly.
People come to me, they expect me to do all the talking, and I do. And I will start in an area that I feel is most important for them to know about, and then kind of spreads from there. And there's something that I feel is a big rift in the skeptic and the psychic communities, and there's a term, something called cold reading. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yes.
A lot of people will say, and we get kind of stuck, I think, in this cold reading. I want to be the first psychic to say, absolutely, I do cold readings. Everybody does cold readings. You cold read people. Everybody cold read people.
Okay.
It's our way of kind of connecting with each other. Empathy is actually a type of cold reading, feeling what another person feels. Now, I know that there are a lot of other elements, and people accuse a lot of psychics and mediums as just kind of sizing someone up and saying things that are typical to perhaps their demographic.
And there are some phonies out there.
Oh, there are. Unfortunately, there's a whole lot of them, and absolutely there are.
Now, you used the word skeptic.
Yes.
Now, you understand us secular people as far as we're concerned, skepticism is a good thing.
Yeah.
And you do understand where we're coming from, which is we rely on that which we can establish proof for.
Yes.
So our skepticism about what you do would require some serious evidence for us to find it acceptable.
Sure. And
Now, where do we find such evidence?
Well, there's actually always been a lot of it. This has been going on for quite some time. There's been research in this. You hear about this stuff with the government and, Men Who Stare at Goats was a funny film that was made about that. But there's been a lot of, studies going on. There's a lot of research that's going on in psychic phenomenon. Some of the most recent and most compelling, and I had the pleasure of seeing this woman speak when I was at the Towards the Science of Consciousness conference. There's a woman named Julia Mossbridge who, and I want to say it was 2013. Don't hold me hard and fast to that, but it was within that time period. PhD did a lot of research at Northwestern, and she discovered something that is called anomalous anticipatory activity. Now,
say that once again.
One more time. Anomalous anticipatory activity.
Oh, no, I don't know what that means.
Well, what basically the studies were showing and what the research was showing is that we, and I'm just talking about random, field participants in this research. She wasn't out there finding psychics. This is published academic work here that's very well researched and scrutinized. And, some people may argue with this, but this is, as far as I'm concerned, you ask for proof, this is part of the proof. Not you in particular, but the community. And what she found is that we respond, our brain actually responds and starts sending out signals about things before we see them. Now, some of the things that she was doing is that they were showing photographs. You'd show a photograph of a kitten. But the thing is that the mind was actually already responding to what it would do if it saw a photo of something that was pleasant before it saw the photo, 5 to 10 seconds prior to actually seeing a photo of a fire. The brain starts showing responses to actually having seen a fire that it has not seen.
And they determine by what? By
things
connected to parts of your brain.
To parts of your brain. And it's really, it's very well hashed out research here. And again, Julia Mossbridge, you can find out about her work on the internet. It's fascinating.
All right, she is claiming that
she's a PhD.
Okay, but what you just described is evidence of what?
Of precognition. Of being able to know something that has not yet occurred. And they can't figure out how it happens or why it happens, but this is, again, hardcore scientific. This is not fluff. This isn't on, an internet site that really will just publish anything to support itself. This is published academic research. And there's more of it. There is...
Was her research, and I know that people expect this, was it peer-reviewed?
Yes, absolutely. All of it. Anything that I'm bringing up here today has been stuff that's been hashed out. And in addition to having psychics for a family, I'm also the great niece of a very well-known zoologist, Asa Arthur Schaefer. I grew up, part of my childhood, in a research institute of microbiology, so I understand scientific inquiry. I welcome skeptics. I don't know everything. I don't say that I talk to some spirit who's disembodied, who communicates through me to give the information. I actually don't really know what's different about me. My guess, what it is that I do, it's a brain anomaly. I think that I have a different way of processing time and space. And I think that when science, I mean, this is my psychic opinion too. I think when science does figure this out, that it's probably going to be a membrane that I have that is thinner, or I have a bunch of things that are firing at a much higher pitch when it comes to time and space.
And you're saying this is something inherited or something learned?
Both. Right? I mean, I think that part of it is inherited. I think everybody has some of this. I think everybody has had that moment where, the phone rings and they know who it is prior to answering. I mean, Julia Mossbridge is proving this stuff. Other people will think, these are just daily examples, will think of a song, turn on the radio, and the song comes on. So there's some of this that happens in all of us, gut feelings, intuition, instinct. In business, people call it killer instinct. If somebody knows when it's the right time to trade, when it's the right time to buy. So people are using this all the time. It's just they don't use it every day, an hour, at a pop, 8 hours a day, and they haven't studied it to the length that I have. Mm-hmm. Again, practice, practice, practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Do you ever have politicians who come to you and want to know what their future holds?
I have had them, and I've had that going on for a number of years. It's not anything that I'm going to talk about, but yes, I do. Absolutely, I do.
I see.
One well-known was somebody very well-known in New York State, and somebody very well-known here. Again, I'm not going to say those names, because I.
And they came to you for information which you were able to provide?
Yeah.
And then it proved to be what they.
It was accurate. Yeah, it was accurate.
Okay.
I mean, even politicians have their doubts. Everybody,
of course.
Even doctors want to know. I mean, I have psychiatrists. I have clergy. The spread of clientele that I have would astonish you. But everybody has doubts. Everybody wants to, hear that everything's going to be better, and I don't sugarcoat it. Sometimes things are going to be worse. But luckily, I can kind of give them an idea about some of the better stuff that's going to come.
And you get some sort of messages even from people who have not come to you and asked, for you to read them or whatever. In other words, you and I are sitting here.
Yeah.
Are you getting any messages from me?
No, and I know you. I mean, we've met before. Just
Yes.
to be clear, we know each other from some social circumstances.
Yes.
I've always felt that was spying. And also I think one of the reasons that I've been able to maintain this as a career for 30 years now is that I am not bombarded constantly with information. I do get things without asking for it. They tend to be global events more so than anything else. I will get information about things that are going on prior to them occurring. I don't really, sometimes I don't know what it is. I'll just say, wow, that's it. I'm picking up something really earthquake coming up. I'm just feeling shaky about it. I know something's coming on. Mm-hmm. There was something that happened just recently that had to do with a hurricane that was on its way to Mexico at the time. I was talking to some Mexican journalists just prior to that and mentioned it. They asked me, well, what are you getting? What's coming up, globally? What's going on? I just said, well, I think there's a hurricane that's going to be a little nasty coming towards you, Mm-hmm. And these are things that, again, I don't want to be bombarded about this. I really don't want to know everybody's business. I don't want to be a psychic busybody that's just running around and nobody has any secrets from me. It can be a little difficult dating me sometimes because everybody should have a little privacy. But
yes, I would think that would be pretty scary for your date.
Sometimes, yeah. But I don't really, unless somebody's coming to me and saying, Kerry, I really want you to look at this for me.
Okay.
I'm just not walking around doing that. They show that a lot on television. It's a very interesting, unique entertainment device. But I really will say that if there are people out there that are walking around getting bombarded with information that they have no control over, that tends to be a little bit more towards, I would say, leaning a little bit towards some emotional imbalance, maybe more so than a psychic ability.
So if you are in a social setting,
Yes.
and talking to first one person and then another, do you get, I don't know what to call it, do you get, when you're talking to someone, a message that says, this person would like to know something, or I know something about this person?
I've done it, and you know what? It always gets me in trouble. It always backfires. I mean, it used to happen to me a lot when I was younger, before I was as adept at it as I am now.
Yes.
And I would be standing next to somebody and just, wow, this woman's having an affair. And she's happily there with her husband.
Yes, so you wouldn't say anything.
There were times when I would walk and bring somebody and call them over and just say, I have a little, you're going to get caught soon. If you really want to just continue this, you really better cut it out, But I would be they shoot the messenger, right?
Yes.
Cassandra in the myth of the fall of Troy, she didn't get a really good rap, even though she was the one that was running around all the time saying Troy was burning.
Has anyone taken a shot at you?
I've had some strange people come around, not literally, knock wood, or particle board, knock something, yeah. But I've had some odd people come to me I called the police actually on several occasions because I felt that somebody came to visit me that there was something not right about.
I
see. I'm very, very careful. I think that anybody in the public eye gets a certain amount of stuff, but I want to talk to people about things. If somebody comes and they're belligerently skeptic, let's talk about that. I'm not, and again, I think that it's important that we take some of the things that the skeptics and the psychics have been arguing about back and forth for the longest time. I think we should just lay those to rest. Again, I am not going to pretend that I don't know what a cold reading is. I have watched psychics on television say, oh, I don't know what cold reading is. And my response to that is, darling, if it's your industry, you really should know what they're talking about.
You know what
I
it
mean?
is, yes.
And when I read about it, and I'd hear all this stuff about it, I read about it, my response to that was yes, of course I do. But that does not explain how I'm able to know the names of people, how I'm able to know the dates of people, how I'm able to know how people look. I can't cold read one person and see it about somebody else in their life that I've never met. So I think that if we can start looking at some of this other science that's going on here, instead of the broken record of, well, you cold read. No, I don't cold read. Yes, you do cold read. No, you don't cold read. Let's talk about some other stuff.
We are just about out of time.
Yeah.
I want to read one quote from you that says, I'm a psychic medium, which means that I can read the future and see what opportunities are coming for people.
Yeah.
That pretty much describes what you do, right?
Yes.
Well, I think we may have a few seconds left if there's anything you want to tell our audience.
Well, here's a couple other things, just again, for the sake of the science part of it. There are some other interesting things that have happened with science that I'll just put in there. Einstein's spooky action at a distance, it's also called the theory of the entanglement. There's been really, over the last few months, some great breakthroughs in that. If anybody wants to Google that and take a look at that, that's interesting. There's also something that was discovered in UCLA, the psychic cell. The information is out there for people who are curious.
Thank you very much, Kerry, and thank you folks for watching. We hope you will be watching our shows with some regularity.